Hey everybody, I'm the Drink Pro, and today we're reviewing Highland Park Dark Origins. What's up everyone, Kyle the Drink Pro here with you yet again. Thank you as always for liking this video, commenting on it, sharing it with your friends, and don't forget to click subscribe. I'm almost to 800 as of the time of this filming. I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subs, so if you like this video, please consider clicking that bell and helping me out. So today we're digging a little bit deeper into the world of Scotch, but we've got a fun one because I haven't done any whiskeys from this region yet. Why? Because it's not really a region that is well identified. You know, I talked about the Highlands, the Lowlands, Speyside, even Campbelltown and Islay, but this doesn't really fit into any of those categories. There are some islands that can be identified on the west coast of Scotland, but this is actually in the far north. Highland Park is actually located in the Orkney Islands, which you can see on this map that I stole from their website. It's pretty far north. It's sort of a unique location compared to most of the rest of Scotland. Now this might confuse people because the name of this distillery is Highland Park, so you'd expect it to be from the Highlands, but the history of the name is a little unique, and so it's not actually named after the Highlands, the general region of Scotland, but instead it's sort of named after where the distillery is located. It's a place called High Park as compared to a lower area on the island. So High Park, they ended up calling it Highland Park. Now, Highland Park was founded by Magnus Jussen. I'm sure I'm not saying that name right, but Magnus Jussen in the 1700s. And it was 30 years after that formation, it was actually formally given a license to distill. So the first 30 years of their existence were kind of on the down low, making some shady stuff. And that's actually the background of this product, Dark Origins. The origin of the distillery was in the dark. Magnus was a preacher and a butler by day, but by night he was a bootlegger and whiskey runner. Now the process to make Dark Origins a unique product is coming with a bit of a preface because I went to the Highland Park website to try to learn more about the pour. And if you go to their list of whiskeys, this whiskey isn't listed anywhere, not even in their archives. Don't know what's going on with the website, that's not for me to figure out, but I will suggest you check out the website if you want more information about their process. They talk about being the only distillery to use Orkney peat, which is the peat that is being found and pulled off the island itself. And they also have a very unique malting process where they do all of the work by hand, which I don't think any other Scotch distillery does. They have 5 pillars they talk about, and those are 2 of them, but I'll let you go and check out the rest if you're curious. But today I want to focus on the Dark Origins unique components. Now the first point of reference here is the standard Highland 12 pour. They use twice as much first fill sherry in the casking that goes into the Dark Origins. Now, just like the 12, the Dark Origins is a blended product, but unlike the 12, this is a non-age stated product. What we do know is that 60% of the casks that go into these bottles are European first fill sherry, 20% are American oak first fill sherry, and 20% are refill sherry casks. So you're gonna get a significant sherry component on this whiskey. Now, like I said, this product is non-age stated and it's sitting at 46.8 ABV. And that's actually a criticism I've heard kind of laid against the Highland Park folks, is that they know they're very popular. They're second only to Macallan in terms of the secondary pricing in auctions of their rare products. And people kind of are saying, hey, you're doing this low proof stuff, you're going non-age statement, aren't you just trying to sort of stretch out the whiskey? Well, I only care about the taste. If it works at a low proof, if it works at NAS, then it works. If it doesn't, you gotta do something different. Don't try to stretch the whiskey out on me, guys. But let's find out before we judge. I'm gonna go ahead and pour out this sample and note 2 things. First, these Drink Pro glasses are available on my website, thedrinkpro.com, so you should absolutely go get yourself a couple of them. And second off, this pour is provided to me by Josh, who runs the I Drink and I Know Things Whiskey Group and the related podcast. I will link their YouTube channel in the description. You should check them out. They've been really good to me for a long time, supporting me from the very beginning, and I love to return the favor. Now, right off the bat on the nose of this, I'm getting that sherry really powerfully, but also you notice the peat. A lot of whiskeys that are this sherried, in my experience, aren't this peated. So it's a lot of strong sweetness and a lot of this almost sea breeze iodine note. I will say I think the sea breeze is much stronger than the iodine. That's a very, very subtle, sort of almost background chemically note, but it is there. If you have a hard time with peated whiskeys, this might be a good introduction product, especially if you like the sherry, because it is subtle, and the sweetness from the sherry is almost overpowering in terms of noticing and pulling out those peat qualities. But because of that combination in peat and sherry, I really get this nice, sweet, earthy note. It's almost like dark cherries combined with like fresh cut grass. You can definitely smell the earth and the ocean spray. It's really sort of like transports you to a place in your mind. Man, those berries really show up though. The sherry is there, unmistakably, but it doesn't smell too wine forward for me. A lot of times sherry just presents as straight up wine, and I don't really want that in most of my whiskeys. But here, for some reason, it's giving me this really nice, like sweet and sour, like sour cherries and tangerines. Pineapple even maybe. It's that really sweet, sour combo. Almost tropical, honestly. Now I'm starting to get like a light clove and the mango and the orange. It's like blood oranges, that kind of citrusy, sharp orange. I do get a little bit of baking spice in the nose, a little ginger, a little clove, a little bit of cinnamon. But the sweetness is so predominantly like dark fruit and then that tropical citrus that I don't get very much of the vanilla or the caramel, none of those bourbon sweet aromatic notes. They just don't show up here at all. And somehow, even though it's 80% first fill sherry, I don't feel overwhelmed by the sherry. The sherry is not the predominant note. It has actually blended really well with the other flavors going into this whiskey to create beautiful tropical fruit, as well as that sort of classic deep prune or plum or apricot, those like deep fruit notes. And I get this like green grape quality as well. That's kind of unique and interesting. Oh, this is a great nose, but let's see how it is on the palate. There's that peat. There it is. Mid-palate finish, it really shows up. I'm really surprised this isn't as sweet as I thought it would be. The nose on this is like candy or something. So I was expecting a much sweeter, much more sherry focused pour on the palate, but I'm not really getting that, at least not on the first taste. See, this is one of the reasons I don't really mind the low proof on this kind of pour. There's a ton of things happening in this. You have a good standard base whiskey, then you have a sherry finish on top of it. You have the peat smoke mixed in there. There's so much happening. It can pull you in so many different directions that while it might be a unique journey and maybe a whiskey you could really parse apart at a cask strength bottling, this to me is more sit back and enjoy it. This is not an analysis whiskey. There's a lot happening in it. Don't get me wrong, but all of those notes are pretty muted. And they create this really nice blended profile. So for me, I would probably prefer to have a pour like this if I'm not sitting there nerding out with whiskey nerds. and I fully put myself in the whiskey nerd category, but a lot of times I just want to have a dram and not think too much about what I'm having and just enjoy the experience. And the nose I was getting on this whiskey was all about the experience. It took me to a place, by the sea on this island with the earth and the grass and maybe some sort of fruit orchard, I guess, but the palate is kind of doing the same thing. It's very experientially focused and not analysis focused. This is not a nitty-gritty analytic whiskey. On the palate, I can definitely taste the sherry. It's lightly sweet. You do get the cherry note. You do get some plum as well. Mid-palate's where the peat shows up for sure, but it's not overpowering. Again, it's a soft peat. It's lightly earthy. And because of that sherry-peat combo, it's almost like you've sort of grilled or smoked a fruit basket. It's less like you're at a campfire and more like you grilled or smoked the predominant note, which is that sherry. It's that sweetness, it's that dark fruit note, and then the finish is beautifully peppery. And that's why I went back again to the idea that this probably shouldn't be at a high proof for just sitting back and enjoying, because it is a long, peppery, almost like chili pepper spice on this finish. It just lingers and lingers and lingers. And That might be turned up a little too high for a lot of people if you had this at a 55% or whatever cask strength bottling. And kind of thinking about this too, it's at 46.8% alcohol. I think that's 93.6 proof. There's no other reason to do that proof except to proof to taste. Like, why would you have such a weird proof? They probably proofed it to taste. This is what they wanted the experience to be like. Now, I don't remember offhand what the MSRP was on this bottle, but just drinking it over and over and revisiting and thinking about the experience of tasting it, I'd be pretty happy if I paid $80 to $90 for this. If I paid $100, that's probably like the cutoff point to be like, okay, I got a fair price, but I don't know if I'd pay a whole lot more than $100 for this, just because it's not that interesting and unique. It's not a dig through kind of whiskey, and I don't typically sip easy drinkers that are at that kind of price point. So Highland Park Dark Origins, it's a tasty whiskey. Ugh. Oh God, my throat. It's a tasty whiskey. It's definitely worth trying. You should find a way to get yourself a pour. It's probably not that expensive. I don't know how hard it is to find though, because Highland Park's website just doesn't even show it. So go freaking figure there, guys. I'm gonna keep drinking this pour. You guys keep drinking like professionals, and please consider checking out the Patreon, patreon.com/thedrinkpro. It's a great way to help support the channel. It's a great way to get exclusive bonus content, opportunities to win rare bottles of whiskey, all kinds of great things over there. In the meantime, keep drinking like professionals. Cheers.